Welcome, friends, family, and fans, to the second home game of the Minnesota Strike. Today promises to be a very interesting day as they are taking on the Milwaukee Monarchs. Both teams currently winless, both really in the hunt for their first win. Anything you're looking forward to today, Rebecca?
I think there's going to be a lot of firepower behind both of these teams. They are ready for their second or their third game of the season, depending on the team. They have a little bit of time to sort of get chemistry under their belts, so I'm really excited to see how it looks today.
So again, thanks for joining us today. I'm Kelsey Percy. This is Rebecca Klein. We are very excited today to be taking a look at these two teams, especially as a lot of their talking points coming in were about how hungry they were, about how disappointed they were in previous play, about, regrets they had coming in, about what they felt they left on the field. And so this mindset on both in what still could be challenging conditions. This stadium notorious for having ever-changing wind patterns. And also in front of a really robust crowd. Last week, record-breaking 550, I believe, crowd here at the home field. Spectacular. Really electric environment and energy coming off those sides. So, yeah, a lot to play for. And also in a short season, a lot to lose. Monarch, if they go down this game as well, that's half their season right there. Puts them in a perilous position going into the playoffs. Getting a look here at Milwaukee. They, of course, are in their travel whites. A lot of height, a lot of athletics here on this team. And that was part of what the coaches talked about. Getting a look here at the keys to the game. So bounce back Philly. No surprise there. Confidently execute in the wind. I think reflecting a little bit of feeling shaken in something they usually feel like is a strength as a Midwestern team. No regrets. Lock in their first win. No questions there.
Yeah, and just a quick note about the Philly game. A couple weekends ago, Monarchs traveled both to Philly and New York back-to-back games on back-to-back days. That's not an easy thing to do. And I think the Monarchs are trying to sort of get their feet under them, have a good single off game here today.
Yeah. And two powerhouse teams. And honestly, Minnesota Strike right up with there as well, having to do the matchups as we're looking at the Strike. Keys to their game. Love this one with rage in our hearts. More on that later. Fundamentals first, then fireworks for the O-line. Win the wind. Mob floaty discs. Love that mentality.
Yeah.
There's just a tone of aggression coming from this Minnesota Strike team. But on the with rage in our hearts, just feeling like there's both a lot that was left on the field that they could have given more, that they want the last game back, that being the one against Portland, Maine, the Portland Rising team. But also that this is a rivalry. This is a Wisconsin team, Wisconsin versus Minnesota. There is a lot of history, not just in this PUL level, but these are going to be players that played against each other, some of them at the high school level, in college, again in club. They just have years and years of this being, bitter, spicy, you name it, the rivalry's here. So, with rage on our hearts, how good is that?
Exciting. Makes for a really fun environment and a fun matchup. We can't wait to see what happens here. With that, we're going to take us on a quick break. We'll be back for the beginning of our game.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here at the game Minnesota Strike versus Milwaukee Monarch. We're going to take a quick look at the weather conditions here. Pretty gorgeous as far as Minnesota goes. Temperature right below 60, wind speed at 10. This is going to affect the game. Sunny, which we are loving and is probably going to give us a good crowd. But diving into the game, PUL's about to go up. We are ready for the action.
Here we go. Courtney Walby with the opening PUL for the Minnesota Strike. Monarchs are starting on offense, going slightly downwind. We've got Ju over to pick up. Lofty throw to Shriver, who gets up to make that catch. And Shriver's going to boost it deep, looking for Duffner, and that is going to hit the ground.
Something that we saw a lot in the New York and Milwaukee, that would be the New York and Philadelphia games, was Milwaukee's willingness to shoot, looking for advantageous positioning. But it did mean that the offense gave defense a lot of opportunities to score.
So Johnson there on the far sideline, not getting a lot of help, but she is able to kind of release a high stall throw to Hendrickson right in the middle of the field. So that works out really well for Strike. Walby with it in the middle of the field, and Johnson hits the ground to keep that alive. Really good play there.
That was such good reaction from Johnson. Just fingertip grab, immediately left the ground, able to keep it in play.
Cook is trying to find Hendrickson on the break side, unable to do it. So nice mark there from Shriver. Looks like Hendrickson is a little unmarked, so good that they were able to find her. Johnson is with the disc now. Oh, she's looking for Cook, but that goes a little bit beyond her. Sort of looks like she was doing that inside backhand on the forehand side.
Yeah, Milwaukee did a good job there of really crowding the very front of the end zone. Minnesota wasn't looking to go over the top, and that played to Milwaukee's advantage, able to get it back.
Schrader picks it up on the back corner and finds Shriver. That one sails just over Shriver again. We're definitely seeing the wind affecting these throws a little bit. Walby's heading over to pick up.
So this already playing to Minnesota's advantage in that they wanted to really set the tone from the get-go, be aggressive on D.
And Walby finds Monshine and an arcing forehand, and Monshine hits Hendrickson. That is a break for the Minnesota Strike.
And there's the tone. Aggression, taking shots, but making smart shots, possession on defense. That's a really good opener for Minnesota.
And you better believe Hendrickson and Monshine are going to chest bump. You see that all the time between the two of them. They love it. So looking at a quick replay of the stuff we just saw on that point. Really good read by Hendrickson on that one. Nice catch by Johnson. A couple throws on that possession we saw, those sort of lofty forehands to space that worked out for Strike. So that's nice job putting a lot of touch on their throws and getting it exactly to the space that the defender couldn't get to.
And reminder, these are going slightly upwind, so they have to put enough speed to cut through the wind, enough touch to not overshoot, and enough edge to cut through and get to their target. These are difficult throws, and they're making them look pretty simple. That's a great way to set tone.
All right. Alicia Carr on the line, about to pull. An exciting addition to the Strike's roster this year is Tori Gray. This is her first point out on the line with the Strike. Not surprising to see her out on D-line, but we're really looking forward to seeing some firepower from her in this game today. Shriver with the disc in the middle of the field. She finds Schrader. Schrader with a big arm, and they let it go. Looking for Stelzer, or actually Bugash finds it. Great grab there, and Bugash hits Stelzer. That's a great continue.
That is a big upwind point for Milwaukee, and that is exactly what Minnesota was looking to prevent. Schrader known to have a powerful backhand. So that is something that they did not want to let go, and that is something that they will probably be adjusting for. Is how do they take away that backhand? One of the things they talked about was not doing a lot of force middle, unlike their game against Portland, which they felt was effective, because it would play to the backhand that were so dominant on the Milwaukee offensive line.
Great throw there from Schrader, and really good read there by Bugash. Probably tell wasn't entirely sure which cutter was going to come down with that, but you see two cutters beyond their defenders there. So that's a really good find and a really good continue. Monarchs really made that look easy.
Those were pressured. Steph Wood was right there So very good focus by Bugash.
All right, so 2 up-win points so far. So we'll see if that trend continues here. We've got Penny Wu on the PUL for the Monarchs, another exciting addition for these teams. She has played in the past for San Diego Super Bloom, Columbus Pride. A lot of throwing power here from Wu. So not surprising again that she's on the PUL, and hopefully we'll see some big hucks from her throughout this game.
Oh, that is gorgeous. Watch this pull.
All the way to the other end zone. Daly fields it and sends it up to Bacon. Looks like a bit of a set play potentially from the strike. And that throw is going to hit the ground. Byers just not able to come up with it. So Monarchs are going to take over with about 30 yards to the end zone. Penny Wu picks up. Wu finds, or is looking for Johnson. Steph Rupp with a great D, not allowing that first throw off.
You can see Johnson's body language staying positive, saying that's the look, that's what I want. Johnson, a former Minnesota and St. Paul area player, played for Noise, but finding a home for herself now with this Milwaukee team and fitting right in.
Striker content to sort of march it up the close sideline here. Poyer then finds Rupp, and Rupp a nice swing over to Daly. Daly's going to hit Bacon, who comes in from the stack as a bit of a cutter stint for her. Mexstroth is going to hit Poyer. Just over her head. That was really good defensive positioning from Demert, making it so that Poyer had to sort of go up earlier than maybe she would have wanted to. And then the disc just sailed over both of them.
We did see a lot of that in the Philadelphia game. So adjustments in the wind, not just defensively, but as a cutter, making sure that you're timing it, because sometimes it hangs up longer than you're expecting.
And just as we ordered, Wu picks it up and boosts it deep, looking for Beckett. And Mexstroth able to get the block there. Beckett also an exciting new player for the Monarchs.
Beckett was actually a player that the coaches were eager to talk about, the athleticism and the ability to put together an understanding of the game even with relatively few years of experience. That's going to be a fun matchup. The height to match Mexstroth is not that often found.
Mexstroth with the disc over on the far sideline, around to Daly. Daly continues the around looking for Byers, and Byers is able to catch that under some defensive pressure from French. Dump back to Daly. Great D from Beckett, just like we were talking about. That's an awesome block. Sort of going full extension and using that length and that height.
Well, and to Beckett's credit, I talked about the height, but not just the height, the foot speed to match with Mexstroth. All kinds of fun there.
Demert was looking for Jarek downfield. That one floated a little bit again with that wind, and strike players were able to break it up. Long point here already.
One interesting adjustment that I'm already enjoying from Milwaukee, and I saw this some in their Philadelphia, is when they threw a zone, oftentimes their mark was a flat mark, making it difficult, even if there's someone open directly around you, having to go to the outsides. I'm seeing that as well, especially when the disc gets to the break side, that the mark is defaulting flat first, then going back to a force side, and it takes away options. Makes it very challenging.
Mexstroth on the far sideline here, looking for an outlet, finds Rupp on an upline, and Rupp is going to boost it, looking for Poyer. And again, I think the wind got in the way of that one. Sorry, that was Bacon. Looks like there's some discussion on the throw, potentially a foul call. Chat between Rupp and Johnson. Looks like we see some hand signals, which are really helpful for us up here in the commentator booth. The arms crossed over mean that there was a foul, and then those two fists pointing together is contested foul. So it looks like Rupp called a foul on the throw. Johnson is contesting it, so the disc will go back to Rupp. Looks like Stahl is in at 3.
We're going to be talking a fair bit about matchups. I also really enjoy the Rupp and Johnson duo. That save by Bacon. Stoppages for days here, folks. But yeah, the duo of Rupp and Johnson, both very physical players. I do think in a safe way, but I like players that match up in that way and prepare to challenge each other in the space and fight for disc and for cutting lanes.
Bacon here about 5 yards out, looking to punch it in. She finds a nice inside to Peasley. That's a great layout from Jarek to try to get that D, but the disc sneaks right in there to Peasley.
So another upwind score, and Peasley, her first game of the season, and someone that the Minnesota Strike wasn't sure was going to be able to go. It was a game time decision, a little bit of trouble with a knee, but already a difference maker. So someone that they were very happy is able to take the field.
So exciting from Strike to get another upwind point. I think, as with a lot of windier games, a big discussion is who is going to break back first. So the first point from Strike was a break. Since then, we've had a number of holds. So is Strike going to get a downwind break here to sort of solidify that 2-goal lead, or is Monarchs going to be able to put in another upwind hold?
Interesting element of the game, isn't it? That right now our breaks seem to be upwind. And that can be a different piece of when you're shooting downwind. Do you overshoot? But already a game changer for Milwaukee, just that ability of Wu to get the disc downfield so they're not turning it in their backfield.
Absolutely. Zhu here with the disc, unmarked for the moment. Walby peels off and finds the mark there. Now Shriver with the disc.
I like that choice by Walby to peel and take up the cutter. It's really slowing down the flow.
Duffner has the disc on the far sideline. She's going to hit Schrader for an around. Schrader-Tori Gray matchup, that is a one to watch for sure. Here's Kelly. Finds Schrader again. Schrader looking for Lang. Nice layout to secure possession there from Lang. Schrader again with a casual inside up to Shriver.
Notice Schrader faking the backhand to pull the mark around further to give her the lane that she wanted.
Here's Duffner with the disc. Back to Schrader. Really has been sort of a quarterback for this offensive line. Schrader's looking for some help. The stall count's probably getting higher. They're looking for Shriver in the end zone, and Cook is in the space. Way to catch the D and not leave it up to chance at all.
Interception.
Rachel Johnson here finding Walby, and Walby's not able to hold on. So Monarchs will take over again about 15 yards outside their end zone. Unfortunate, uncharacteristic drop there, so we'll see if Monarchs can punch it in. And Schrader tries to throw that inside to Shriver. Hendrickson with a smart poach off of the stack to sort of sneak in there and knock it down. So Strike have another chance here for a downwind break.
I wonder if Strike will be more aggressive here, just looking to get it further downfield. We talked about, and there it goes, the big shot from Gray, who has the green light in that space.
Gray was looking for Cook, and Shriver did have some defensive pressure on there. It looked like the disc sailed just past Shriver's hand, but Cook was not able to grab it, and I wonder if the sun was a little bit of a factor there. Just kind of sailed past her outstretched hand.
Yeah, for those at home, sun setting in the west, so directly behind the stadium, and the disc there would have been directly in the sun.
Glinka with a nice floaty upline to Schrader, and Schrader finds Shriver. Sort of pinned on that back sideline there, so looking for an around, and they find Schrader, who continues and was looking for Manoir Zhu, but they stopped their cut, it looks like, so that is a turnover. Looks like a timeout. So a big difference in PUL rules compared to other forms of Ultimate is that coaches can call timeouts from the sideline. You also can sub in different players to the field during a timeout. So when we come back here, you may actually see different players on the field.
So brief moment of recognition for some of our sponsors. The Discraft Ultra Star is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports.
This live broadcast of the Premier Ultimate League is brought to you by Breakmark Ultimate Apparel. Go to breakmark.com to place your next custom team order or check out the PUL Athlete Collab shops.
And finally, for all of you listening at home who are enjoying this wonderful broadcast, please consider donating by scanning the QR code on your screen. See Monshine there with her big thumbs up. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization. All donations go towards pay, travel costs, and bringing you high-quality live streams. Thank you for supporting the Strike.
All right, and we are back in. Bacon picking up and immediately looking deep to Mexstroth. And that disc is going to sail over their head. Mexstroth taking some time to get up, so hoping she's all right. Looks like there's a discussion here between Mexstroth and Aaron Schrader. Maybe a foul call. And these folks here on the orange shirts are observers. They are going to help with foul calls, in and out calls, up and down calls. Players can go to observers to get an opinion or get a ruling, although they're not going to be quite as involved as like a ref would be.
Getting another look at that.
What do you think about that, Kelsey?
I see the argument. I do. It's easy to say that Schrader was already in the space, but from Mexstroth's position also of her momentum was going backwards and she feels like Schrader's momentum was going into her instead of in the direction of the disc. I think there's an argument for a foul there.
One more replay here. It looks like
Now,
Schrader sort of stopped running and that stopped Mexstroth's momentum.
Now the question might be, did Mexstroth have a play on the disc? And we had maybe the worst angle to really assess that. What I will say is Mexstroth's, we'll call it ape index, is incredible. Just very, very long reach. And I feel like if she really thought it was outside of her capability, she would have waved it off and said no play.
And it looks like the players went to the observers, and the observers ruled that it was not a foul. So Monarchs will be taking over here around the 30-yard line.
Observers today, Carl Nelson and Steve Undall, both very experienced, and we are thankful to have them on the field today.
Absolutely. Lang with the disc in the middle of the field. Inside finds Bugash. Over to Stelzer. Looks off Duffner on the open side. Back to Lang. Lang is looking for that inside. Goes for the around instead to Schrader. And Mexstroth, Schrader, and Bacon all get their hands on that. Bacon ends up with it. Mexstroth using that height to get in the way. Good pressure from Duffner. Daly is able to come down with it. Over to Rupp. See if Strike can punch in this downwind break. Up to Mexstroth, and Mexstroth is immediately looking towards Byers, one of her favorite targets, and Byers comes down with it.
That was textbook. As soon as Bacon took over control and they started that slow progression, but confident across, cutting to the far side of the field, and the timing then for Danny Buckets Byers to go hit the end zone.
Her teammates know to give her that space, that she's going to want to continue with those deep cuts, and more often than not, they will work. So that's awesome to see.
And that is stack discipline. That's knowing who has the green light, who's attacking that space, and then the cadence in time for Rupp to wait. And I liked Rupp's outside backhand. That was good touch. She didn't overthrow it. Beautifully executed for Mexstroth. Another look here. Mexstroth gets the touch just enough to put it outside of Schrader's hands. Bacon there to scoop it up.
Bacon says, thank you. I'll be there. Beautiful, beautiful throw from Mexstroth.
Not rushed, but no delay.
All right, so we've got Strike pulling upwind this time. Nice to see Alicia Carr out on the field. She and Walby practice pulls for a while before both games that we've been at so far. So got a sort of rolly pull, which is trailing back towards the Strike sideline, so they'll try to stop the roll. Great runs to try to catch up with it, but that pull definitely took a roll in the Monarchs' favor.
That's a tough break.
Yeah.
I will be honest. If I'm throwing a roller, I'm throwing it at a sideline for that very reason.
And here's Wu with the no pivot backhand. That's going to hit the ground. Good layout from Tuhig, but that one is not going to connect.
That could have been a devastating blow for Milwaukee. If they threw a one-throw score.
Yep. Great around from Semper to Carr. Continues to Hill. Back to Carr in the center of the field. And Carr looking for Monshine. Tuhig is able to run in and disrupt that throw. Great run through D.
I liked Monshine's first cut. When Hill had the disc, there was a space that I think Hill maybe could have hit, but the continuation into the handler space, I think is just slowing and slowing down. It made it prime for D to be able to run through and get that same D that they were able to.
And so the horn we just heard signifies the end of the first quarter. So that means that the Monarchs are going to be able to finish out this possession, whether that means it's a turnover or a score, and then the quarter will be over.
That's a tough blow for Minnesota. They did such a good job of having discipline at end of quarter situations.
And that is Ballinger to Jarek for the end of the quarter score and an emphatic kick spike from Jarek.
Yeah, think about it. Had Minnesota been able to hold on even for maybe 2 more throws, then the possession is theirs and they effectively win the end of quarter. Instead, Milwaukee scores, brings it 1 point closer, and now instead of being up 4-1, score is 2-3. A lot closer.
Definitely a different story.
Yeah.
We see Jarek here kind of trying to get that energy up. Emphatic kick spike. We love to see it. So that is the end of the first quarter. We're going to take a quick break here, and we will be back for quarter number 2. Stay with us. All right, and we are back here at Seafoam Stadium for quarter 2. Before we get back into the action, thanking a couple of our sponsors. VC Ultimate. VC is the exclusive official uniforms sponsor of the Minnesota Strike. Get your official Strike jerseys, hats, and more at vcultimate.com/collections/Minnesota Strike.
Thanks also to Brent Johnson, the Realty Guy. He is a proud Ultimate parent and sponsor of the Minnesota Strike. If you're in the market for buying a home or have a family who may be exploring buying, selling in the near future, Brent Johnson is experienced and does a high volume of transactions in the metro area. He is the ultimate supporter of the Ultimate community and is also the official realtor of the Minnesota Strike. Can confirm, I've worked with the guy, coached his kid, phenomenal family, so would trust.
Penny Wu with the big pull going upwind, but you wouldn't be able to tell. Rupp is going to catch it and center to Bacon. Daly in open space. And Daly is going to boost it. Looking for Steph Wood, and she comes down with it after a mac from Jarek. That is a lot of concentration from Wood. And Wood looks over the shoulder to Byers. Wow.
What an electric series. That touch, the focus from Steph Wood, but also the cadence, the throw from Bacon to McKenna down the field, beautifully placed, just past the fingertips, and then going across the grain. I want to watch that whole point over again. That was phenomenal.
So Daly with that throw that looked like it was straight to Jarek. Jarek is able to get her hands fully on it, but then Wood comes down with it.
And maybe that's a note from Jane Cook. If she goes to catch that instead of Daly, it almost looked like it went under her hand, and that's where Steph Wood was able to get it. But again, you could see Steph Wood just going, whoa.
She's like, I don't know how that happened.
But that's the reality of that's a fraction of a second. We're seeing it in slow-mo, and it still looks fast. Mm-hmm. Exactly what you said. Concentration, the ability to stay focused in, watch it all the way in, but then pivot and see Byers going the other way. And that's chemistry. That's knowing Byers is going the other way, knowing Byers is attacking that back corner, and going before the mark is able to set and block that off. These are looking like much more confident teams than we saw the last 2 games. Already
Absolutely.
Loving this back and forth between Milwaukee and Minnesota.
Zhu over to pick up on this offensive possession for the Monarchs. Some nice shutdown defense from Fireside Ostergaard on Schrader. And here's Bugash.
Schrader and Shriver. Minnesota took out both of the handle resets until they found a release.
Mia Wieben looking for Shriver, and that one is just a little too far. Monshine helping out and getting there as well. And that is a turn. That
was another focus. We talked about the keys of the game, that rage aspect. all the help just mobbing the disc when it went up. If it was hanging, having extra defensive help there. So execution on that goal.
Johnson taps it in with Bugosh on the mark. She finds Jane Cook on the far sideline. Cook finds Monshine. Around back to Walby, and Walby continues over to Johnson. Johnson with the huck looking for 3 different cutters. Hendrickson is going to come down with it. Hendrickson hits Cook. Cook finds Zadeklik right on the goal line. Patient dump back to Walby. And Walby finds Cook. Cook has that breakneck speed in large and small places, to be honest, so it's difficult to mark her. So that is a break from Minnesota State.
That was a very good march up the field. I was wondering when they got into the red zone, somewhere I think Minnesota could have shown a lot more was execution in the red zone. And I wanted to see them going into a set versus just attacking that corner again, because what happens if that's denied? But look at this, just the progression. Not letting defense set, staying ahead of them the whole time.
And well done here by Zadeklik to kind of take a little bit of time to find that reset. A lot of those throws happened in quick succession, and she still took a deep breath and waited to find that reset when there were no shots to the goal open.
And I like the choice from Cook. Cook was in that space, deliberately cleared, not just a couple feet, cleared all the way to the front of the stack, then attacked. So maybe I'll give them points on system, but I do think that that is an area where if they want to be in contention towards playoffs, long road to that. They've got some wins to take. They haven't earned this one yet, but if they want to be in contention for playoffs, they're going to have options in the red zone, not just attacking that front cone.
Yep. Pull up from the strike. Ballinger picks it up and sends it over to Wu. Wu gets the Tory Gray mark this time. Another no pivot backhand from Wu up to French. Inside throw from French to Jarek. Jarek finds Demert, who bumps it over to Wu. And a pick call, so that again, that hand signal, sort of the goalpost arm, signifies a pick. If you are on defense and anyone on your team or the other team gets in your way of following the person you are marking, then that is a pick and it's not allowed. So that is what the signal means. Good concentration from Demert to hold on, to throw slightly behind her.
That inside left hand was brilliant.
Wu's throw sails over the head of the intended recipient, which was Johnson. Some contact there, it looks like. A lot of people converging onto one spot.
I think Beckett maybe had the best play, but both players so focused in on the disc, basically taking out each other.
Wood takes over and finds Carr back to Wood. Big under to Adapalik. Looking for some help. Floaty thrown to Carr, and then Hill is open in the end zone. And Carr finds Julia Hill. French is hot on the tails there, but Hill is able to pull it down. That is Hill's first goal as a strike player.
I want to highlight 2 things on that play. One was the absolute perfect outside edge, just sitting up on that throw that Carr made. Watch this. Watch the edge on it. Sits it out. It's going to just sit exactly where Hill needed it, but also French's closing speed. French is only in her 3rd year, I think, of playing Ultimate, an absolute game changer, defensive playmaker, and someone that Minnesota is going to have to keep a corner of their eye out and a fraction of their attention on at all times.
So a couple other sponsor shout-outs. First of all, we want to shout out Johnny Pops. Made with simple ingredients and a kind deed written on every stick, Johnny Pops are the perfect treat to cool you down. New flavors are available now at your favorite Minnesota retailers, including Cub Foods, Lund's, Kowalski's, Fresh Time, and more.
I am so excited for the weather that I need a popsicle for. Also, a little love for our league, the PUL. This is a live broadcast brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we in the league are so grateful for the support. We ask you consider donating to help continue to transform and fulfill the mission of the league. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate.
Want to give a Big shout out again to Julia Hill. She's a teammate of mine on Minnesota Star Power, which is a mixed team here in the Twin Cities. So cool to see her killing it in the pro game here as well. So it looks like there was a quick timeout there. Strike is going to be pulling, going upwind here. Pull goes up and just past halfway. Schrader over to pick up. Looks like some poaching on the defensive end from the strike. Zhu finds Kelly. And Kelly finds an unmarked Stelzer in the end zone. That throw just off of Stelzer's hands. So looking like a little junky, zony stuff here from the strike on defense. There was a player pretty open in the deep space. It didn't work out for Monarchs, but that was still a pretty open look.
Yeah, Strike's plan was very much to hit Milwaukee with a 1-2 punch, to hit them with really, really hard person defense, and then to start to change it up and make them think and not let them get comfortable.
Overthrow from Rachel Johnson, though, gives the disc back to the Monarchs. Shriver with the disc in the middle of the field, looking for a reset to Schrader. That disc a little bit high, and Schrader is not able to pick it up, so that is Minnesota strike disc again. Johnson picks it up on the far side, marked by Lang. Nice inside throw to Walby. Walby continues across to Monshine. Monshine dumps it back to Walby. Walby with a big throw over to Zedeklik, who finds Hendrickson. Hendrickson doesn't look to have a mark right now, so she's got time. Back to Zedeklik. And Zedeklik is going to launch up to Monshine. Just unable to come down with it. That's a tough one.
That's heartbreaking. Monshine just fingertips almost there. Here's another look. Monshine's defender was under. The throw just floats up. Barely. Oh, and that's
just couldn't get her hands on it.
A first, second, and almost third look right there.
Yep. Schrader's going to tap it in and send it deep. Zedeklik in pursuit.
What a bomb. I love this look from Schrader, though. Gets them out into space. It's a well-executed through. It's viable, one-on-one. So
yep. And Kelly's got a lot of height there, so not a bad look there. It does look like there's another timeout on the field, so teams will have time to regroup, potentially put a different line out there.
And that is something to highlight. One of the differences that you're going to see here in the PUL is the ability to change entire lines or individuals as needed with a timeout. It's such a good strategy piece of the ability to change from offense to D and really capitalize on momentum and punch scores in. Oh, and talking about the crowd, we've got good energy here. Big crowd, I would estimate again, over that 500, maybe even 600 people here today, enjoying the sunshine and cheering on this Minnesota Strike group.
If you're enjoying the stream, please consider donating by scanning the QR code on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization, and all donations go to player pay, travel costs, and bringing you high-quality live streams just like the one today. Thank you for supporting the Strike.
Sarah Monshine says you should. Double thumbs up. No. But seriously, it is, I think, one of the benefits of having these high-level leagues of players not just having their pay covered or their travel covered, but the ability to, earn something for their time and giving us this really high-quality ultimate to watch. Such a gift.
So it does look like Strike subbed out some of their players. We have a slightly different line. Daly finds Mexstroth, though it does look like there was a call. Looks like a pick call from those hand signals. Not entirely sure where the pick was called, potentially Tuhig, which resulted in Mexstroth getting more space open, so that's why the disc went back to Daly. Daly's got Wood in the backfield with her. Wood is going to find Adapalik. Big layout there from Muting. Not able to come down with it.
We haven't talked about Adapalik a lot, but it's been taking quite a few tough defensive matchups. I thought Bacon was going to be there, but French knocks it down.
Yeah, good timing with her turn to find that disc from French and make sure she could knock it down. Here's Wu in a power position. That is a dangerous spot if you are on defense, and she lets it rip, looking for muting. That's going to float slightly too far. But again, if we're talking about field position here, the disc now is all the way at the other end zone.
Gains 2 things. This Minnesota team is going to have to, now it's proven they can march it upfield, but take it the whole way, and also keeps them on the field that much longer.
Bacon up to Rupp, finds Ada Pollock. Meckstroth with some sneaky cutting there. Up to Peasley. Peasley finds Wood. Wood is going to shoot it up to Poyer. And there you are, folks. Bacon.
That might be Bacon, yeah.
I don't know why I'm mixing them up today.
That's because Bacon leaves the backfield and shoots for the end zone. That's fantastic. That was very smooth. And I will say that's the flip side to this. And that's the challenge to any coaching call of, okay, you're green lighting the huck deep. I liked Schrader's look. I thought it was viable. I thought Wu either could have put a little bit more touch or maybe waited a fraction of a second longer, make it in play, because Minnesota is proving that they can take this upwind, and we're not in that strong a wind. Like, wind is projected to drop throughout the game. That makes it tough when now you've opened the gap even further and Minnesota now up 5. That's tough.
Yep. Second assist of the game for Steph Wood, who we usually see racking up the goal numbers, but we've got a cutter throwing the goal to a handler in the end zone. So we love to see the versatility for our strike players here.
A lot of depth in this strike offense and looking much more confident and smooth today versus last week.
Definitely. There's Carr with the big downwind pull.
That's good looking. Lots of hang time.
Schrader catches it confidently, though, and immediately throws that first throw up to her teammate. So we're continuing on here with Schrader in the middle of the field.
No joke on the confidently. I don't know that I would have done that.
It was coming in hot.
It definitely was. Focus and the ability to harness aggression. Schrader just puts them together in such a package. Minnesota looking to contain that backhand.
Here's Lang. And a fortunate drop there from Heileker. Not able to hold on. So strike is now going downwind. Tori Gray is pulling 2 defenders, so likely that someone else is pretty open.
Reminder that coaches told us Tori Gray does have a green light.
And so does Monshine, apparently.
So does Monshine.
Oh, amazing catch from Fireside Ostergaard.
And the crowd goes
Wow.
wild, as they should. That was an incredible catch.
Incredible.
I thought it was gone. I thought it was past. Thought it was no way. And yet in the just bare fingertips, no hesitation, pulled the trigger, did that layout. That was
wow. I can't wait to see a
stunning.
replay of this. So here's Monshine with the big backhand huck.
Monshine cranked it.
Amazing grab from Ellie. She's so excited. Oh my gosh, I love this.
Another view. Check this out. Absolutely airs it.
And
That,
I think it looks like
folks,
because that arm was the first
point of
part of her
contact.
body to hit the ground, she was in. This is Ellie Fireside Ostergaard's first year on the Minnesota Strike. She's played on Minneapolis Pop in recent club seasons. Really, really awesome to see her making big impact plays for the Strike.
And of all the players, when I talked to the Minnesota Strike coaches, they said Ellie. Ellie's going to have a hot game. Ellie's
right.
going to explode.
They were right. They should buy some lottery tickets because they can predict the future.
I asked him, I said, who had a good week? Who looked great at practice? Who's going to explode?
There you go. All right, so momentum definitely on the Strike side. We'll see if Monarchs can punch in a downwind hold here and sort of regain their momentum as well. Bugash with the disc. Over to Zhu. Zhu back to Bugash. Looking for Duffner. That one sailed a little bit past Duffner, and Wood is able to get her hands in there and knock it down.
Duffner made a good adjustment, but I think you have to remember that Minnesota's just hanging on that outside shoulder. You've got to attack the disc there.
Johnson with the disc on the far sideline. She's likely going to be looking for a reset, and looks like some poachiness from the Monarchs. So Johnson is able to find a wide open Wood, who again finds Hendrickson.
Smooth toss from Wood, too.
Up to Cook. Nice patience there, back to Johnson, and then an immediate give and go from Cook.
And then attacking
and
back
Cook
across
hits
the
Wood
ground.
right on that end zone line, but she manages to get that foot in.
Beautiful. I also I really like that Cook had Walby streaking across, had Amelia going first, then Walby, but went early to her reset, and then came back across the green. That's really good decision. Yeah, Wood just pushing up through.
Bookends for Steph Wood.
Yeah, so watch this. Came across to the middle of the field. The defense had already committed. Then Steph Wood counterattacks, and they score the back way. I love that they didn't try to grind that into the corner. They created space. That was the red zone I was wanting to see.
And it looks like Duffner there on the Wood matchup was a little dubious about whether that was in.
There was some
kind of
definite facial expression there.
Gave the observer a little bit of a question mark look. To us, it looked like she was right on the line, but observer being right there, we trust their judgment.
Yeah, an interesting distinction. We got one good look of it. Folks, go maybe back 2 minutes in your time if you're watching this on the replay. But the far side, the near sideline, the sideline is the white line. The far sideline, it's actually the numbers. And they've got small cones that make it easier for players to see. But it's not that easy to see.
It's not the most intuitive. Ballinger here finds Tuhig. Up to French. And a nice toss to Ballinger. Nice movement here from Monarchs.
Yeah, that's the best they've looked in a while.
Penny Wu here with the disc.
A lot of pressure from Minnesota.
Yep, able to find a reset to Ballinger, who hits Jarek. Jarek to French. And that is a goal from the Monarchs.
And there's that backhand side. Monarch is so, so dangerous if you let them attack the direction that I want to.
And that's a really nice goal for Monarchs, again, to sort of regain the momentum, regain the composure. We're a good team. We know how to play with each other. We can score a goal here, and they did just that. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah, just again, we've talked about this cross grain coming and attacking to the break side of the field, getting on the backside of the defender. Just really gorgeous when they take what they want. So one of the things I want to see, especially as we're here just in the last fragments of the first half, Milwaukee talked about no regrets. Milwaukee, I love this. What is this?
Maybe some halftime shenanigans coming up.
Star Wars Nights. Oh,
it is Star Wars night.
lightsabers. Give me a lightsaber, please.
May the fourth be with you, Kelsey.
Always. May the force be with you always. So Milwaukee talked about coming in with no regrets, talked about leaving nothing on the field. Can they show that? It is one thing to say it, is another thing to execute. Can they really accelerate and show like they have a place here in this league and earn a place into playoffs? They've got a lot of work to do.
Another long pull from the Monarchs. Mextroth with the disc over on the far sideline. And looks like a travel call, no contest. Those kind of swirling hands signifies the travel. A round throw from Mextroth to Daly. Continue to Rupp. A little bit of maybe disorganization downfield, but able to find Byers.
Finally. She'd been looking for the large gainer from Mextroff on the other side.
Up to Poyer here, and Peasley is wide open, but on the break side, so hard to hit that one from Poyer.
Again, and watch on the break side, Monarch going flat every time. It makes it so hard to hit that continuation unless they can get the defense to flash past.
Here's Rupp with a big throw towards the end zone and finds Mextroth. That is definitive from Mextroth.
Mextroth has some of the most panache of any ultimate player in this league. Just the smoothness. There's a good chance we'll get another look at that, but watch the flourish.
That is a highlight reel play for sure.
I come from an era of Ultimate where we didn't so much do, celebration spikes, but it was like, who's got the most style on their catches?
This one's definitely up there. 2 defenders in reach, including one who almost gets her hand on it, but Mexstroth just pulls it down.
Beckett, who has been in Mexstroth's back pocket all game long, has been testing Mexstroth on foot speed as well as height.
Great power there from Rupp. Again, that is sort of the upwind direction. Just grabs it away from the defender.
That's fun.
So we have 33 seconds left here in the first quarter. A reminder for the rules, it is the same as the end of the first quarter. So when that clock expires, whichever team has the disc in their possession will be able to finish out that possession, whether that's a turnover or a goal. Once that possession ends, the half will be over. So keep an eye on that clock in the bottom right screen of your screen.
It's ticking down. We're getting close. And if you're Milwaukee, how much mental strength does it take for you to not have flashbacks to the game in Philadelphia? This is starting to feel like
great D from Hendrickson. That is a poach layout block there from Hendrickson. Really smart play. And again, like you were saying, that's kind of the worst case scenario for Monarchs, and the horn for the end of the quarter just went off. Monshine's gonna hit Hendrickson for the bookends. Wow.
Teammates clapping as they go, yes. Give her the goal. Give her the celebration with the chest bump, just like Rebecca called it. I want another look at this Hendrickson D, though.
That is an awesome play.
Oh, you're good. That might be part of our package later on today, but we are at the half.
And that is kind of, for the strike, the best way you could end the half, getting that really exciting turn. And then beautiful hug from Monshine to reward Hendrickson for the
walking.
great play.
Look at Monshine walking.
Walking and then putting the hands up.
Utter and there is that feeling as someone whose bread and butter is deep throws, when you release and you go, oh, that's money.
Yep.
You don't even have to wait. That's money.
All right, well, an exciting first half here, Minnesota Strike and Milwaukee Monarchs. We are going to take a quick break for halftime. Minnesota Strike 11, Milwaukee Monarchs 3. We will see you on the other side. Strike has clearly risen to the top of the Midwestern Division. We're starting to really hit our stride, I think.
Run through D by Sarah Monshine.
That's a great throw. Fire's able to just coast out. It's put on a platter for her.
Every lesson that we've learned along the way, put it together and just be the best we can be.
Planek has the height here, and she's able to come down with it.
Big under, Dreen streaking towards that open side, and the cartwheel spike. We have Raisin shooting to Jane Cook, just sitting out there, and there we have it.
And Steph Wood with the quick shot across the top. No other star power needed. Helm
Helm coming through with the block on that last throw.
D-line Helm, that's what we like to see. Helm's been huge in some big moments for Strike over the past couple of games. And we have an incredible play. Dreen looking for Fennig on the give and go. Bounces off of Fennig's hands during the bid, and Katie Godfrey is able to clean it up. Another great grab here from Fennig, and then dime hammer to the back corner. Wood able to just run onto it. Seems like Fennig has inspired a new generation of Strike hammer throwers in this game.
Oh, but
And that's an Emma Peasley hand block, everybody. Peasley says no.
out to Mattamore, and she takes a big shot. It's intended for number 44, Anastasia Foster, but Emma Poyer is there with the big D. Hear those stands rumble. The fans are feeling it.
Oh, great layout D from Sadie Redding to get it back.
Right.
Oh, great layout from Sarah Monshine. Amazing grab.
And shooting it, Baker's there. Randall
with the D.
coming in for the D. A great layout D from Robin Fennig.
Welcome back to the Minnesota Strike versus Milwaukee Monarch. We were able to get an interview with one of the Milwaukee coaches. We have Nick Wang down there with Laura Osterland. Laura, down to you.
I'm here with Coach DJ Nick Wang. Tough first half, especially that second quarter there. What do you think? What adjustments are you going to make going into this next half?
We are going to make some adjustments defensively, but we feel like the matchups that we have going into the game are still pretty solid. The score that we see, 11-3, we feel like doesn't reflect how the actual battle on the field is, to go along with the Star Wars theme. But I think that the adjustments are mainly going to be small, slight adjustments. The main game plan is going to be the same thing.
And what have you been telling your players throughout this first half? Because I'm sure looking at that score, that's a little disheartening. So what have you been telling them?
Minor adjustments, maybe slight angles on how we orbit or how we adjust on the mark. Y'all are doing a great job of attacking the break side, and we need to make sure that we're not giving up free looks. There's a couple points where we didn't have enough pressure on the thrower, and so those types of things easily can be cleaned up.
Is there anything else that you're going to try to improve upon this next half to kind of help try to tighten things back up?
We might have a couple tricks up our sleeves, but we're going to stick to our game plan that we came in here with, and a lot of it we see as a lot of execution. Maybe we've had some faces that are showing up, and we're just looking to gel a little bit more, and we think that those things are going to get cleaned up the more that we play together.
All right, and there you have it. Again, this was Coach Nick Wang. Back to you in the booth.
Thanks so much, Laura. Thank you, Nick. We appreciate it. Yeah, so a tough one as a coach. How do you make sure you don't overcoach, but how do you also empower your players and get them focused in this game and feeling like they can still carve a win out of this, be it a moral win versus a physical one? So lots to think about. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back to you with some more Live Ultimate.
All right, we are back, folks. Some awesome highlights there from the first half. And we're excited to see what's coming here in the second half. I know we heard a little bit from a Monarchs coach, but Kelsey, interested from your perspective, what are some things that we're looking to see differently or see continued from both teams here in the second half?
Yeah, so I thought Nick Wang's comments were interesting in that he's spot on in terms of you don't want to overcorrect sometimes, even with the score. But part of it is part of its strategy. You know, they were green lit to shoot and going for positioning. But to me, that is often a lower team strategy versus an elite. You know, when there's not that much wind, when both teams have proven they can score upwind, do you push for possession instead? And so actually that's something that I would like to see from this Monarch team. The emphasis on possession, they've been able to execute. They haven't been doing terribly on their resets. They're pressured, but they've still been able to get them. I would love to see just that emphasis. I mean, honestly, both teams have showed playmaking capabilities. We've seen some really good defensive efforts from Monarch. So I think in terms of a, player and athletic, they're still in this game. Can they show up in the second half?
Yep. All right, Monarchs starting on offense here. Lang picks it up. Finds Schrader in the middle of the field. A little bit of poachiness from the off-handler defense there. Over to Stelzer, who finds Duffner. Some nice flow here so far from the Monarchs. Around reset to Lang. And Lang tries to find that inside throw, but Gray cuts it off. Gray and Semper playing catch up to Carr. That's just going to go a little bit too far. Gray patting her chest saying, that's my bad. Some good movement, though, good chemistry from the strike.
And I liked that aggression. I liked that give and go action, but that is just a little bit of momentum.
And Schrader with the big backhand. It looked to me like Gray got a hand on that.
I do think there was some pressure there, and I loved Cook going all the way out of bounds to make sure that the disc stayed dead.
So potential hand block, and then making sure, 100% sure that the D occurred. Strike has it back now going downfield. Semper over to Hendrickson.
Hendrickson with some fancy footwork to make sure that possession stayed alive.
Cook has it now, looking for a reset, and around there to Hill. Looks like a pick called, and the play will stop when the players with the disc notice that the pick has occurred. So going back a little ways.
And Minnesota is working in that handle space, just really moving the defense around, a lot of give and go, but also very disconnected from their stack. A lot of separation right now. They'll need to be careful about that and make sure they have a good option. That was probably higher stall count.
Semper with the disc up to Hill. Hill finds Gray, and another throw that sails over the intended receiver. Want to look to clean that up a little bit, but again, some decent movement there from strike.
Yeah, that was a tough angle. I don't know that there's a way that Cook gets that. That would have to be flat and just sitting down in front of her, and that's not how that is played.
An unmarked Kelly here finds the disc up to Duffner. Back to Schrader. Nice give and go with Duffner.
Schrader being very casual with these just upline pops or bumps.
Oh, a nice upline there from Kelly to Schrader. Calmly brings it down, even with that pressure there from Tori Grand defense.
Schrader every other so far.
Yep. Over to Lang. And looks like a call. Looks like a timeout here.
Timeout taken by the Monarchs.
So timeout here from the Monarchs, it looks like. And again, they will have the chance to sort of switch out who is on the field. So we'll see if we see some different personnel. So wanting to give another shout out to our sponsors, starting with the Blackheart. Blackheart of St. Paul is a queer soccer bar in the heart of Midway, a bar that brings people together for a drink, drag, or an ultimate watch party. The Blackheart of St. Paul is also the official post-game party location for all Minnesota Strike home games. I was there last time after the game, and it was a great time, so highly recommend.
I hear it's a good spot. Speaking of, a bar of their own. Big fan here, too. Check out a bar of their own in South Minneapolis, the Midwest's first sports bar to exclusively show women's sports, including the away games for your Minnesota Strike. Talk about a time to be watching women's sports.
Indeed. Another sponsor here, VC Ultimate. VC is the exclusive official uniform sponsor of the Minnesota Strike. Get your official Strike jerseys, hats, and more at vcultimate.com/collections/Minnesota Strike.
Yeah, this is an incredible time to be watching women's sports. It's so privileged to be here up in the booth on this live stream with y'all, able to see it, rewatch it, but also this live experience. I talked about it last time, though I think I need to give some room also for this red zone play from Milwaukee. So, Rebecca, I'm going to let you go, and I'll come back to it.
Back in action here with the Monarchs. Schrader has the disc. Nice inside up to Stelzer. That's a nice confidence booster there for Monarchs.
And I think that reflected their play, just confidence the whole way through. That was Schrader's point.
Yep.
Whoa, that was just dominant the whole way through. It almost surprised me when they took that timeout, because I don't know that it was needed. They didn't look that stagnant, but maybe coaches didn't see what they wanted to. But maybe an opportunity also to set up that red zone.
And how many times have we seen folks or teams kind of, nice hand block there from Tori Gray. She kind of sniffed out exactly what Schrader was looking for. And then Cook was able to get a hand on it.
But then look at this. The pressure from both Gray and Jane Cook, but Schrader read it perfectly. Challenge there.
Yeah, leaving a little behind them, but still able to.
And that laser, but not too hot. The heel click. That's glorious. Folks, the entertainment. Like I was saying, like, we're on the live stream and we're absolutely enjoying our pants off up here. But you are missing out if you are not in the stands. Like, join us afterwards on the live stream and have fun rewatching. But the experience is here. The experience is in the stands, just watching these incredible plays.
So Strike in on offense. Danielle Byers with the disc on the far side. Finds a reset with Rupp. Big continue over to Bacon, who again is a little bit downfield here. Gonna hit a big forehand looking for Poyer. Can Poyer get there? Yes, she can. Great box out there to make sure she was the first one to the space. Calmly finds Daly. Daly finds Peasley.
Peasley, they are so glad he's back, but that was smooth. For all the dominance that Milwaukee showed on that O point going upwind, Minnesota just answered.
Yep. This is a really good read by Poyer. She's going towards the dish, she's going towards the space, but she's not going so fast that it gives the defender time to catch up to.
She almost herded her defender out of that space by slowing her approach and making sure she wasn't underneath the disc, but keeping it in front of her. And that trailing edge, too. Instead of making it a straight jump ball, making it something that Poyer could attack.
And also, it is so tempting to want to immediately hit that next person that there. Mextroth was there, but there was a defender in the space also. It's really tempting to want to throw that throw immediately and get that stat. Poyer took a breath, found the reset, and then they hit the goal in the next throw.
Yeah, very good timing. Mextroth out, Peasley in. Yeah, this is the execution Minnesota wanted for their offense. This makes them look like the playoff team they had their identity set of at the beginning of the year. This is the gel and the chemistry that they wanted with these new pieces.
Yep.
This is firing on all cylinders.
So pull up from the strike. Bugash catches it and centers it to Schrader. Nice inside from Schrader looking for Zhu, and that's just a little too far. So Strike takes over going downwind. Monshine is open in the deep space, but Semper gets it into the middle of the field to Carr, up to Hendrickson.
Minnesota's been doing such a good job of having that continuation to the break side there and ready to go.
And that is Hill to Fireside Ostergaard.
Again, looking very dominant. But this to me is systems. This is knowing what you're doing next as a team, knowing how to anticipate the direction and flow of the play. But I'm also not seeing the responsiveness from the defense. There's so much gap in time. Minnesota doesn't look pressured on offense or defense right now. So to me, that comes back to that core of no regret. Are they leaving it on the field, or is that coming from the mental health field? Is you're seeing the kind of trauma in play of you're down by this much, the amount of resilience that it takes to continue trying, to continue effort, and to not just shut down and be like, ugh, we're out of this game.
Yep.
How do you set the small goals? How do you focus on just the point in front of you and let the rest of the game exist in another time? It's already in the past. Let's just focus on this next point. Let's execute this next point.
Yep. We still have 7.5 minutes left in this third quarter and then a whole fourth quarter to go. So still lots of ultimate to be played. Walby with the pull from Strike.
I'd love to see Strike hit 20 plus this game. That could be excellent. And it's within reach.
Heiliger picks it up and sends it over to Lang. Arky throw over to Shriver. Shriver finds Umhefer. And Shriver sort of going every other on this point. Sort of like we've seen Schrader do in past points. Over to Stelzer. And Stelzer finds Umhofer. Here's Lang, and Lang easy up to Shriver for the goal.
Yeah, Shriver really driving the offense there. As a thought, and this is a tough systems question, if you're Minnesota and you're sitting on that front cone and sitting on that front cone, do you just go flat and force them back towards the middle?
That's a tough one. The wind is not such a factor that those rounds are difficult.
It's almost died.
So, you know, but I think it could be a strategy from the Strike to force those throws and catches because that has not been as reliable as we know the Monarchs can be.
That would almost be with a no-win situation, and that can be tough. I'd almost like to see a little bit of force middle in the red zone here. That could be a fun curve to throw of just making them go over the top where you do 2 layers of defense. You've got that front layer that's just forcing them away from the cones because that's the easy. Sit a layer of defense on the end zone line and then sit another layer behind that. But choices, it's red zone. What do you have to lose?
Now here's Wu with an upwind pull this time. A lot of distance and height on that one.
Gorgeous. Best pulls all day.
Yep. Daly catches the pull, centers to Bacon. Looks like another set play, setting up Byers for an open under. A little bit of poachiness downfield. Poyer with the disc on the close sideline. And here's Mexstroth without a mark, it looks like. Tuig comes to cover. And Mexstroth finds Poyer on a beautiful strike cut.
So smooth. We talked about Poyer a lot last game. The acceleration, the speed at which she gets separation from other players. We haven't seen as much of her, and I think that's not any takeaways from Poyer, but instead just how balanced this Strike offense looks. Watch this.
Just turns on the speed. And I wonder if Tuhig is saying to Jarek that she maybe should have called a pick there, to be honest. Because if we look right here, Poyer throws up to Mexstroth, and as Jarek is going around Tuhig, she has to slow up a little bit in order to catch up and is not able to catch up. So I think Tuhig is saying should have called a pick there, and that would have sent the disc back.
And I do like Poyer's approach, not necessarily like the shallowness of how close to the mark, but taking that outside towards the center of the field as if it were a clear, but then attacking. And it gives Mexstroth a better angle to throw into that space where Poyer and the disc could converge. And Mex knew it was coming.
Yep.
Standing, waiting.
Yep.
Right,
she knows that Poyer has the speed to get open in that downfield space. So smart throws, smart cuts. Another point for Strike.
Another pull from Alicia Carr.
And Schrader picks it up here in the middle of the field. Finds Zhu.
Love the Schrader Fireside Ostergaard matchup. They're spicy.
Here's Bugash in the middle of the field. Nice around there to Zhu. Another around over to Duffner. Duffner finds Shriver right on the sideline. They tap it back in. And there's Schrader, nice one-handed catch. A little poachiness there from Gray, making that reset difficult, but Schrader is going to find Bugash with a nice inside flick.
That was a gorgeous edge. Just the almost slow release, just finger, the amount of touch that went on that inside throw. That's really hard to do.
She makes it look, they make it look very casual, which is impressive.
Looks like we get another look at this. Watch this. Watch the release. And how crisp that is,
Beautiful.
how flat.
And some firepower there from Bugash, big smile. It's great to sort of pump your team up when you have a pretty score like that, and keep playing your ultimate.
Yeah, this is the kind of short memory you want to have. This point, this win right here. Focus on where you are. Don't focus on the mountain you have to climb. Just take the next couple steps.
Yep, I coach high schoolers, and I like to tell them to have the memory of a goldfish. So
Absolutely.
as soon as something happens, just forget about it. Unless it was really cool.
Oh, and then we keep those all day. Yeah.
All right, so Monarchs will be pulling up win 2 strike here. Got just over 5.5 minutes left in this third quarter. These points have been a little bit faster, which I think makes the quarter feel a little longer because there's more stoppages.
Yeah, by comparison, that game against Rising, I feel like there were so many stoppages and so much kind of burnt time. This has been, in some ways, almost more compact. Of like we've seen so much play already.
So that pull sails out of bounds from the Monarchs. So Erica Bacon is going to pick it up in the center of the field at the distance that it went out of bounds. So they're just about at half field here. Bacon finds Wood. Looking for the reset again, back to Bacon. And a continue over to Adapalik. Nice floaty throw. Up to Poyer. Poyer finds Byers.
No reset coming, though. Okay.
There she is. Good defense from Jarek to cut off that up line. And the throw sails over Wood's head, but Rupp is able to lay out and keep possession. Great heads-up play from Rupp. And looking for that reset, we have a D from Wozniak, so that's a great heads-up play as well. French is looking for Jarek. Wozniak was there as well. Couldn't find either of them, so strike will take over again. A lot of back and forth in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, some of the messiest it's been, but also good defensive pressure and intensity from Milwaukee.
Wood finds Byers. Byers drawing 2 defenders, so someone should be open. And Poyer comes back to try to catch it, just bounces off her hand. So good read there, but not able to make a completion.
Almost a perfect adjustment. Saw that it was coming short, doubled back under. This has been interesting. This has been most contested, but also Milwaukee crossing over a couple of its O-line players. You see Schrader just really trying to double down and get a break here.
Nice concentration from Jarek, and Jarek hits that backhand for a pile. Who's going to come down with it? Great catch from Duffner. Duffner finds Ballinger, and that is unfortunate. After that catch in the pile, Milwaukee can't keep possession, but a really good moment there for Duffner to come down with it.
And an unusual giveaway. Ballinger has been so steady for this Milwaukee team, just really rising to the occasion. Big role player, filling up a lot of space. So one that they would definitely want back, but
Bacon looking for Byers, who is all alone.
Minnesota not hesitating. Poyer turning on the jets and closing the door.
And it looked like there may have been some sort of miss-switching there. French kind of started coming back under on defense as Byers continued to go deep. So not entirely sure what went on there, but Strike is able to capitalize.
We talked about the efficiency, just how quickly these teams have been scoring. But look here, that's big save from Rupp.
Great catch here from Duffner. Good read. It looks like Demert, her teammate, almost got a hand on it too. So really good stuff there.
And then this shot from Bacon to Byers, just a foot shy of the end zone, but Poyer racing up there, knocking it in. That was a bit of a messy point, but you saw a little bit of the caliber. I would call that a gritty point. Those weren't, for the most part, really bad errors. It was a lot of pressured errors.
And you talk about chemistry, too. Bacon, Poyer, and Byers are all teammates together on Minneapolis Dragon Thrust. They have gotten a lot of reps together, and you can tell that chemistry really comes into play when you're tired, when you've been playing a point for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and they're able to punch it in.
Absolutely.
Walby with the pull here to Monarchs. Here's Wu with the disc. Up to Glinka. Glinka finds Shriver, and Glinka's a really big member of this team who we haven't been a little quiet today, so hoping to see her make some big plays later in the game. Newman has the disc now, up to Lang. And Lang with a nice inside throw to Heiliger.
Almost unexpected. That was maybe a 4th row point, so a very good response from Milwaukee. A quick point, what they need. They've got to punch these in. They can't have the long scrappy points. It chews up the clock. Clock efficiency right now is actually their worst enemies. They're trying to carve away this lead that Minnesota has. Yeah, so smooth. Defense not there. Where are the dramatics? We've had so much pressure at Ultimate. Where did that come from?
Yeah. I do think we talked at the very beginning of the game, though, about Milwaukee wanting to find joy, right, in their play. And I think right now that's what they're sort of leaning into. Lots of smiles, hugs, celebrating their achievements as a team, and that's really nice to see.
I will say, and maybe this is playing into this second half resurgence by Milwaukee, one of the things the coach talked about was how well the entirety of the players, the whole team, received feedback and how well they received the call to step up into new roles and positions. That can be rare. That can be, sometimes players have specific ideas of what roles they think they should play. Sometimes feedback can be very difficult to take, especially if you're in a tough place or you're down like this team has been so far this season. So to be able to have the grace to take that feedback, focus in, do the work, and go and tackle your next goal, that's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So this pull again goes out of bounds on the far sideline, so Strike will bring it in to the middle of the field. Bacon has the disc. There is some poachiness going on, but she has a high release backhand over to Mexstroth, and Mexstroth is looking for Poyer, but Beckett gets in the way and rips it down. So great defense there from Eileen Beckett. Wu is going to rip it downfield with that powerful backhand. Great concentration from Jarek to pull it in right on the sideline. Sideline often acts as an extra defender. Crossfield throw to French. French finds Johnson up to Ballinger. Ballinger has it about 5 yards outside of the end zone. There is a pick call so that we can all catch our breath a little bit. Exciting action here with some quick moving throws from the Monarchs.
Yeah, that was pressured defense there on that sideline by Peasley. But then getting it back across field to French was such a good play. It just opened up the field for this Milwaukee team.
And Wu looking for Tuhig. Is she going to catch up? Yes, she is. That throw sailed over Tuhig's head, but she's able to catch up. Mexstroth peeled off there on the defense, but not able to make a play. Probably a safe move there in order to avoid contact, so we always like to see that.
That was risky. That was good focus, though. You can't step back on those. You have to charge all the way through. Respect to Mexstroth for not, valuing the player, valuing the space.
Yep, and that's a break there from the Monarchs.
That D from Beckett.
Yep. Great downfield huck from Wu. And an awesome read from Jarek.
Yeah, Peasley had the inside, but just the extension.
A little height, yep.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, the safe play, softening the edge.
Yep.
By Mexstroth, making sure to minimize the contact there.
And understanding what the other player can and cannot see is really important there. If you're coming from their blind side, they're not going to be able to see that you're there, and that's where some dangerous collisions can occur. So we love to see players being safe and prioritizing that over getting any sort of block or catch.
Oh, absolutely. As a handler who's often making those upline strike cuts, that's terrifying, having someone plowing at you. So, yeah, this is why we're talking so much about it, is that it's really the best case scenario.
Yep. So Johnson fields the pull up to Alicia Carr. Carr with a contested around. Looks like she is calling a foul. Again, with those crossed hands. And Johnson indicates no contest with her hands up towards the sky.
Johnson was thinking about it. And that is that, like, that strong step through, is that an offensive foul? But yes, there was contact. Yes, Johnson was really contesting the space. But Johnson did, however, break up the play. That, like, go to break side was what Minnesota wanted.
Semper here with the disc, looking for a reset to Carr. Minnesota moving backwards right now, being patient until they can find some downfield
And
options.
you can see Johnson waving, indicating a transition to perhaps a vertical stack. The stack not really coalescing.
Yep. Here's Adapalek with the disc, and the horn just went off to signify the end of the third quarter. So this will be the last possession of the third quarter. So can Strike take advantage and score a goal here, or will the quarter end in a turnover? Wood with a nice throw down to Adapalek, and that's just going to bounce off her hands. Great effort there from Adapalek. That's going to end our third quarter.
And that's tough. So Minnesota winning in a sense of not giving up the possession, maintaining it. So Monarch didn't have a chance to respond. But if you've got the possession, if the clock's not a factor, unlike what we'll see in the fourth quarter, you really want to choose your shots a little bit more. You want to execute that one or not take it at all and march it in.
Yep. So exciting action here in the third quarter. We are at 15 Minnesota, 8 Milwaukee. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back here for the fourth quarter. All right, folks, and we are back for fourth quarter action here at Seafoam Stadium. We're going to shout out some of our sponsors. Discraft Ultimate is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports.
Another spot to Breakmart. This live broadcast of the Premier Ultimate League is brought to you by Breakmart Ultimate Apparel. Go to breakmart.com to place your next custom team order or to check out the PUL Athlete Collab Shops. Some really cool stuff in there. I can also say with utter confidence, good wearing stuff, because I have at least half a drawer of just Breakmart gear.
It lasts. It lasts and it lasts.
It does. It's fantastic. I put that stuff through work. Out gardening, getting tons of dirt on it, chuck it in the laundry, and you're good to go.
Yep. So third quarter seemed like maybe a bit of a regroup from Milwaukee. I thought they looked a little more polished, a little more calm with the disc. So that's nice to see. See if they can continue that for quarter number 4.
Yeah, I thought they had a really good response. Tough in that they haven't necessarily closed the gap, but I think just on an energy level they've responded. They've had some shorter points, some clean execution, clean holds, and they're executing defensive pressure, which is exactly what they need to do with this Minnesota team.
Definitely. So possession arrow switches off between quarters. So since Milwaukee had the disc to start the third quarter, Strike has the disc here to start the fourth quarter. Penny Wu preparing to pull. That pull is headed down to Steph Rupp, who catches it and is centering, looking for Bacon. Looks like another set play up for Michaela Daly, who comes from the cutter space. Again, usually is in the handler space. Finds Byers. Byers looking for Mextroth.
Just continually getting closer to this sideline. Okay, Strike. Don't stress me out at all.
Nice loopy backhand over to Daly. Continues to Poyer. Looks like a pick called. Some congestion in the downfield space.
I do really like where Strike sends its reset centering cuts from. So when their handlers are making those cuts, they're often cutting from downfield of the disc, so that when they're cutting out into that space, they're not losing as much yardage. Just maybe 5-10 yards, wide open space.
Absolutely. Daly up to Bacon. Bacon finds Max Stroud. How many times are we going to hear that connection?
So smooth. The chemistry is just there for days.
Yep.
16-8. Minnesota Strike.
And I don't think we can understand just how quickly this is happening. They're not even looking. Like, they're looking, but they're not really. They're already releasing.
Yep.
Because they know it's there.
As a defender, you maybe get stall 1 or 2 off, and that's about it. So it is very fast-paced. 1. Yep.
That's it. Are you even staying stall?
Probably not. Great work there by Strike. Starting off the fourth quarter strong. Hopefully Milwaukee can respond here with an upwind hold of their own.
So if I'm Minnesota and I've had a really dominant first half, I'm up by a lot of scores, this is where I start to get a little frisky. This is where I pull out, like, what are my stretch goals for this game? What are some things that I'd really like to test that as I'm going down the road and I'm playing Philly and I'm playing Gridlock, like, I've got these games on my schedule that I know are going to be against some of the most powerful teams in the league. What do I want to test out now and refine that then I can throw in those games?
Good point. Diving grab from Newman, and then she throws up to Duffner. Monshine is able to get a run through D. So great, smart play there from Monshine. Rachel Johnson with the disc in the middle of the field over to Walby. Finds Jane Cook. Cook and Walby playing some give and go. Walby is going to go to the around, finding Hendrickson. Back to Walby, and Strike is totally content to be patient here. Zaduklik has the disc, but it does look like there was a pick called.
I like that Walby had Jane Cook as an option, almost went for the offhand backhand. Wasn't smooth, couldn't quite get it off, and so just went the other way. That it's not quite there. I don't have to force it. Let's keep possession. Let's keep it smooth.
Yeah, lots of discipline.
And other options coming. That's what Strike has been so strong at, especially this D line on their offensive possessions. Is really executing their resets well.
Wallaby and Hendrickson in the backfield there, up to Jane Cook. Cook finds Monshine, and Monshine with that sort of fiery spike. You can always count on her to bring some energy and excitement when she scores a goal.
And Cook created that opening. Cook faked the flick around to get Schrader to jump on that side, which opened up the backhand to the inside. Reminder, this is their defensive line. This is not Monarchs offense, but the capability's right there. Look at this, coming around. Jane Cook powering across. Fakes the flick. Schrader responds. And there was a threat, but Monshine was waiting right there in the middle.
Yep. One more angle of the play there. Again, a lot of these players have great chemistry, so it's really good to see them firing on all cylinders here. All right, so Strike are pulling, going slightly upwind here again. Alicia Carr getting ready to put us into play.
Carr with the pull.
And looks like we have Penny Wu downfield this time, so something to keep an eye on. We've got Ballinger and Johnson back in the handler space, so slight personnel switching up there.
Pick ball on the field.
Pick call stops the play. Players will reset, and Ballinger has the disc with Carr on the mark. So it looks like a set play with Wu coming as the first cut. Ballinger finds Demert, but that disc is not able to be kept up. So we have another turnover and strike continue with the disc. Semper up to Randall. Back around to Semper.
Love Randall's almost behind the back around backhand there.
Oh, Wood with a toss to Gray. There's a lot of contact there from French, but Gray's able to hold on to it. And that is Tori Gray's first stat as a Minnesota strike player.
Whew, that's a big one. I liked the throw when it got released, but that quickly became a trafficked area. And French is solid. Like French has really won some physical battles in the air. Look back at that game versus Philadelphia, one of the bright lights from that game for this Milwaukee team. Here we go, another look at it. And also Gray on that give and go action of, yeah, look at that.
A little bit of contact, especially on the lower body of Gray. Looks like she's fine. French kind of giving a little apology, but everybody's safe. That's what matters.
Yeah, Gray turned that corner, throw out to space, just not quite enough zip on it. And again, that might be that first game piece.
Yep.
Do you know Gray's speed? Can you get it out in front enough?
All right, we're heading to another point here with Monarchs picking it up. Disc lands right inbounds on the sideline.
Under 10 minutes here, and y'all, one thing I do want to highlight, the sun gets
Mines and around, but that is a knockdown by Monshine. Another block on Monshine's stat sheet. Cook here, looking for Oscar Ostergaard, and she brings down.
Ooh, that was risky. Schrader on that back hip. That's a trust throw, y'all.
Yep.
But Fireside Ostergaard has been fantastic this game.
Third goal for Fireside Ostergaard. And the first one was the one we all can remember with that huge layout in the end zone. But, I mean, she's been really, really solid.
So much snap and personality from this Minnesota D. I don't know if you remember from last game, but one of the things the coaches talked about was they wanted their defensive lines to just be really up there and rolling and big personality and almost chirping back at each other because they felt like they had the execution and also the trust to do that, to like be really fired up and have it be a positive thing. And we're starting to see that kind of vibe from this defense of just almost like sassy, just a little bit of arrogance out there. Oh yeah, we'll throw it to our player who's got the best player on the other team on her back hip, and that's not a big deal. Let's go score anyways.
Yep. Shot here of our crowd again, loving it. Beautiful night here in Minnesota. So everyone's enjoying this awesome game.
Oh yeah, that shot went up to Fireside Ostergaard, and the stands started thumping with the feet. That was fun.
So that pull from strike sails out of bounds, so Monarchs will bring it into the center of the field.
We are 7 minutes now in this fourth quarter, and almost to 20 points for Minnesota Strike.
Heiliger picks it up and looking for Ballinger. Ballinger is just not able to track it down. That's kind of a tough read. Byers is in there as well to make sure that that's not a completion. Semper picking up, finding Megan Randall. Randall back to Semper and looking to the middle of the field. Good pressure there from Heiliger, excuse me. And that reset just a little too far for Alicia Carr, so Monarchs will take over again.
Poyer didn't have a lot of options downfield, but I think was so intent on getting back downfield that the release was just too zippy for Carr. Wow.
Oh, wow, what a matchup there between Gray and French. That is the exact same matchup that we saw the last point, 2 points ago.
Their foot speed, I think Gray's got the edge, but French is comparable, has good closing speed. Tracking this, and remember, this is into sun. The edge that they were taking where they were trying to track that disc, it's in sunlight. That's tough.
And both players going for the second option as well, laying out for it after not getting it the first try. Gray again with that green light, sending it deep, just a little too far for Randall. But again, winding down the clock is in Strike's favor here. They're up by 11 points.
Had a player going maybe a little bit more set on that upwind, and that's viable, but it does get them out of the short field situation.
Demert to Ballinger, finding French in the center of the field, and French with a lofty backhand, finding Tuhig for the score.
Hill was in the area, couldn't quite close it. That's good for Milwaukee, but again, to your point, still a win in a lot of ways for Minnesota, that they're able to keep the team on the field. They burnt off almost 2 full minutes on that single point. Time efficiency, we talked about it. That's part of the challenge. If you've got to have good clock efficiency when you are down by this much.
Let's take another look at this play. Gray gets her hand on it, then both players again going for the layout. Gray still sort of maintains that body position, though, so that French is not able to get both hands on it.
Yeah, that's great persistence by both players.
Yep. If Gray doesn't keep going there, you could definitely see French laying out and catching it for a goal.
Oh, completely.
Another look at the goal from Monarchs. Really nice floaty backhand from French to Tuhig. We'll see another handle.
French put it up high enough that Byers couldn't get to it. Byers was there. Byers was engaging the throwing lane. Had to go up over the top, but not overthrowing her player.
Yep.
Well executed.
From what I can tell, too, it looks like Tuhig is sort of a hype player on this team. She's really excited. She's really getting the energy up, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, you need those. We talked about some of those roles changing over for Strike as well. Formerly Mariah Bell Sims, Robin Fennig, other than their phenomenal play, but just the energy, the hype getting up, and how Sarah Monshane has been one of those players that has filled that role.
So Bacon has it in the center of the field, looking for Mexstroth, and once again, amazing grab from Mexstroth, just snatching it out of the air. Doesn't care about the pressure on her at all. Beautiful catch.
And again, that's French. It was on that back hip. You know, the physical intensity, the pressure, but Max, the one-hand grab. I love that.
Sarah Mexstroth playing with the USA Worlds team in Australia later this year. She was selected for the team. She's really showing her moves here in this game.
Just add another level. Watch this. The fake out. Mex was watching. Bacon signaled to go the other direction.
Yep.
Turns the corner. Love that butterfly cut. There's the fake.
Really beautiful throw from Bacon, too. I mean, we talk about the catch. The catch is amazing. The throw is also really impressive.
Out in front. Mex doesn't have to slow down. That's important. French can't get around. French can't gain positioning. Mex has positioning the whole way, and therefore gets to make the catch as she wants to.
And so Minnesota Strike break that 20-point mark. So exciting to see that watermark being reached here. Walby with the pull up to about 2/3 of the way down the field. Schrader is picking up. And inside throw hits Duffner. Lots of pressure there from Monshine, but Duffner is able to collect anyway. Here's Zhu with the disc. It's a round throw to Stelzer. Back to Zhu. Up to Newman. Again, lots of pressure there from Megan Randall from the strike, but calmly able to collect that disc is Newman. Here is Aaron Schrader. Looks like a pick. Play has stopped, and there's some hand signals once again. We appreciate players using those to help us know what's going on.
If you wondered why Caitlin Duffner was so open, we did too. That would be why. Defender got hung up in the stack, it looks like.
This will go back to the thrower.
So Schrader taps it in here. Looking for Shriver. Can she get there? Great layout from Shriver. Way to track that down. And Shriver looking for Schrader, and Walby's able to have that smart poach and just stop right in the middle of that throw. So strike disc once again. Gray up to Monshine. Monshine's looking for Walby, and there's a drop there from Walby, so Monarchs will take over here about halfway through the field.
That just looked like an awkward angle for Walby. I think trying to get the body around, maybe wrong hand on top.
Yeah, and the sunlight right in your eyes, too, really does not help. Here's Duffner finding Schrader. Schrader over to Newman. Newman with an arcing throw looking for Shriver. Gray is able to get their hands on that one and knock it down. So strike will take over again. Just over 3 minutes left here in the fourth quarter. And just as a primer for folks, the rules at the end of the fourth quarter are a little different than the other 3 quarters. When the clock expires at the end of the fourth quarter, game is over, regardless of what possession is occurring. Johnson finds Monshine. Low throw, but Gray is able to dig it out. Gray to Walby. And Walby is going to boost that backhand looking for Zadeklik. Duffner in the space, and Duffner is able to get that block. Little short throw. There again, that height mismatch with Duffner and Zadeklik. She's able to get there.
Yeah, if you're throwing that, it's got to be out in front. You've got to play to Zadeklik's speed. I liked the idea from Walby, but the execution, if the backhand's not there, don't throw it.
That throw from Stelzer a little bit further than Duffner, maybe changed her direction at the last second. And Stryker going to pick it up again. So here's another long, gritty point. We'll see who sort of comes out on top with the momentum. So Johnson up to Zadeklik, who hits Monshine. Couple open cutters here for a strike, but defense does catch up. Looks like we had another pick here, so maybe some of those tired legs causing a little bit of messiness downfield and resulting in some picks.
Reminder again for Minnesota, this is a win. This is the defense with possession right here, just making the Milwaukee team suffer. I said this is someone who just recently watched the Tour de France documentary on Netflix. Suffering, it's a thing.
Gray with a hammer swing, potentially. Gets into the middle of the field, and now Johnson quarterbacking here, looking for some options.
We haven't seen a lot of upside down throws.
We
this
haven't.
game.
Johnson right outside the end zone. She's got Zadeklik, looks her off, instead has an inside throw to Fireside Ostergaard. That's her 4th goal of the game, folks.
What a sassy throw. I love that inside look. Just the almost squat down fired release from Johnson to get the angle to Fireside Ostergaard. I tell you what, the personality of this defense team, the level of execution on offense for this defensive team. Yeah, look at that
angle,
the curve.
Yeah, you can sort of see Shriver was poaching a little bit off of Fireside Ostergaard there, so there's a good amount of space, and Rachel Johnson is able to capitalize on that.
Bent the disc almost.
And the throw was sort of an OI rather than you might be looking for an IO in that space, but it was just subtle enough that it still worked out and no defenders were able to get in the way. So that's smart throw.
The game is over.
So minute and 15 seconds left here in the fourth quarter. Again, when that clock expires, game will be over. Possession does not continue, so a little bit of strategy here coming into play with the clock. So we'll see what happens here with the last minute or so.
Yeah, these end of quarter opportunities are some of my favorite elements of the game.
Definitely some room for excitement. Wu picks it up here. Over to Ballinger. Back to Wu, and Wu is finding Johnson upfield. Great grab. Johnson looking for Jarek, and that one's a little bit low, not able to hang on. So strike here could just sort of play catch for the next 55 seconds and run out the clock. We'll see how they choose to spend this last minute of the game.
I mean, if I'm strike, I'm still punching it in. They've been all...
Alicia Carr agrees with you. Looking for Jane Cook. Oh, just over her outstretched hands. I really think the Sun was the defender in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, Johnson went up, but if I'm Cook, you almost just run it in and let it go. But yeah, I think probably losing it and unable to tell how close the disc actually was.
And Wu trying to grab that disc with one hand. Again, looking into the sun, that's really difficult. Not able to bring it down. Semper's pressure there to make sure that the disc is not caught. And Wu with a hand block, but it does look like there is a foul called. Wu really putting her body on the line to get what looks like a layout hand block, although foul does bring the disc back.
I like Wu knows what shot Minnesota wants to throw, not wanting to go up the line, really taking away that option aggressively.
15 seconds left in the game here, so See if Strike can use this opportunity to punch in that goal as the clock runs out. Cook back to Wood. Couple seconds left. And as the clock expires, Wood looking for Hendrickson. Doesn't connect, but that's a big win for the Minnesota Strike.
Yeah, that's a significant win. And that's really good clock management as well. Looking, taking a shot. It was a good shot. Players able to get fingertips on it. Not perfect, but that's one heck of a win for Minnesota.
Yep.
Big confidence booster after just coming up short last week. Milwaukee has got some work to do, so that's 3 games down with playoffs only 3 games away. That's tough. So takeaways. I mean, we had a lot of thoughts, a lot of points coming into this game. Was this what you expected?
You know, I think I expected Minnesota to come out hot and come out fighting, but I wasn't sure I was prepared for this level of dominance. Really impressive stuff from Minnesota. Again, using some of those new additions and players that making a really big difference on the field. I think with Monarchs, you know, we're going to want to see them clean up those throws and catches for the most part going into the latter half of their season.
I'm just going to carry that movie for a while with rage in my soul. And this was a defensive powerhouse game.
Yep.
And I love the execution on the offense, but also just the pedal to the metal until the last second from defense. Again, some positives to take away. Milwaukee had some smooth offensive pieces. They've got a lot of interesting athletes. They've got so many elements that could make a good ultimate team, just putting the whole picture together. So, some final thoughts here. Man, what a crowd. What a beautiful day here in Minnesota to be watching Ultimate. A couple more thanks to sponsors. If you enjoyed today's stream, please consider donating by scanning the QR code on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization, and all donations go towards pay or play, travel costs, and bringing you the high-quality live streams, thank you, like the one today. Thank you for supporting the Strike. 2 thumbs up from Sarah Monshine.
And additionally, this live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we are so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to the PUL to continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today.
Such exciting stuff, y'all. Incredible game. Really good highlights. One that I'm looking forward to watching back. I might mute myself, but y'all don't have to.
It's always weird listening to your own voice.
Yeah, but no, what incredible play. And something to really look forward to. So, cut a couple games on the road here before we come back. You'll be hearing me again. Unfortunately, Rebecca won't be joining us, but glad to be here. So happy to be putting the show on for y'all. And if you get a chance, stick around. We've got a fun interview for you. We were able to pull Sarah Monshine, so we're going to be prepping that here in a minute. So yeah, like I said, stick around. We got one more treat for you here at the end. Be right back.
All right, we are back here for some post-game action. We're going to send it down to Laura Osterlin on the field with Minnesota Strike's Sarah Monshine. Take it away, Laura.
All right, I'm here with Strike's Sarah Monshide. Good game. Thank you. What were kind of the differences between this game and last week, where it was a tougher loss?
Last week, I think they came in with a very different strategy. Monarchs and Portland are pretty different teams with different ways of achieving what they want to achieve. So we knew we had to game plan for both teams. Both are awesome to play, but come in with really different approaches. So today we knew we had to challenge some of the deep shots, get pressure on the big throwers, and the main adjustments we had, the coaches came in with a really great plan, and we just worked hard to execute that.
So what do you think went well to lead to a 11-point lead?
Yeah, I think we put on a lot of great defensive pressure. Like I said, we came in with a very specific game plan, and the coaches set us up for success in an awesome way, and we worked very hard to pressure some of those deep threats, and I think we came in and worked really hard at that. Monarchs made some adjustments in the second half, which definitely got them some more points, but we were trying to adjust as they adjusted, and that led to a pretty good game for us.
So going into the next game away against Raleigh in a couple weeks, what are you going to take away from this game to approach that one?
I think we knew we had this in us, and it was really great to get this big win after a hard loss last week. So I think this will be a lot of momentum going into that game, a lot of gritty defensive pressure, and a lot of really pretty offense out there. So those are all things that we want to bring into the next game.
And finally, do you want to give any shout-outs?
I have some awesome shout-outs. Shout out to Chelsea. She got her master's today. She walked at graduation, which was absolutely incredible, and played an incredible game following graduating with your master's. Ellie had an amazing play to save me from making a turn. I feel like I need to automatically give that a shout-out. And Tori, we had her today, and we didn't have her in the last game, and I felt like she was really putting a strong performance out there, a lot of really great defensive pressure. Oh, also Jess Hendrickson had an awesome game and some incredible Ds. So I'm sure I could shout out the whole team for some amazing plays and amazing things, but those are definitely some of the grinders that come to mind for me right now.
And there you have it. Back to you in the booth.
All right, awesome to hear from Laura and Sarah Monshine. Some great shout-outs there. Congrats to Chelsea Semper on completing her master's degree. How exciting.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I agree with Sarah. When we were thinking of, who did we want to interview, who did we highlight, we had such a deep list. Do we shout out the entire O-line just for beautiful execution and the parity of, did every single one of the cutters score or have multiple assists? It really felt like it. I'd love to see the stats on that. But such an all across the board effort from the D team, and love to shout out too to the coaches and the plan of, coming in, having very specific goals that the team felt like they could and did execute. That's beautiful. So lots to look forward to. Raleigh has a spicy team, lots of depth, lots of extreme athleticism, and also extra sweet in that the Raleigh Radiants again, several weeks. I believe there's 3 road games, and then finally, and we'll have our season cap, our end here.
June 8th.
June 8th, yep. So come on back again. We've hyped. We'd love it when you join us on the streams. Thanks for being our online family. But if you get a chance, come on, see the